Welcome to the Pathways Podcast, where we explore the unique journeys and key moments along the way that have shaped the lives and careers of our guests, and where we also discuss culture, tastes, and time-honored traditions that help define who we are. All right, super excited to have my good friend Ronnie Dean from SGMC Health with us. Ronnie, a lot going on in the world of hospital right now. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with the projects and different things.
Well, thank you for having me. It's an exciting time around SGMC Health. We exist to take care of people, and all the projects that have been undertaken is about that mission. We want to improve the lives of all we serve, and to do that, we need physicians, we need programs, we need technology, and we need facilities. So, big building program underway. It was envisioned, maybe a year or so after I arrived. I've been here 5 years, and it's been a great 5 years, becoming a part of this wonderful community of Valdosta Lowndes in South Georgia. Feel blessed and fortunate to be a part of what's going on in and around this region. But yeah, the building program, that's a $150 million building project. It's really an enabling project for the health system, and that we still operate out of the very oldest buildings that were built and opened years ago as the Pineview Hospital. And the way this new addition is being situated, what it'll provide is a new women's and infants tower for the care of women and infants, even the smallest, the neonatal care, but it'll also accompany a new emergency room and trauma center. And it being located where it is, it enables us to come behind some years later and take down old towers and build new towers in place. So we call it an enabling project, although it's a defining project. It gives us these new facilities for expanded capabilities in those spaces, the unique needs of women and infants and ER and trauma patients. But it also gives us a new front door. Right now we face Pendleton, and the front entrance will face Woodrow Wilson. A beautiful wellness park will accompany it. Healthcare facilities should be inviting. They should also be aesthetically pleasing, because part of the healing process is how we make people feel.
That's right.
So I'd say that's front and center, but that's one of many projects that are going on right now for us to be what we think we need to be for this region.
And also, I'm sure it helps a lot with recruiting the quality of doctors and nurses that we need, having them, the facilities to support them. It's got to be a big draw with the project.
John, it is. It's sort of, we're recruiting nationally. I mean, we if you look at the makeup of our medical staff, our providers, this is an international team of physicians that are assembling here in Valdosta. Started long before I arrived. When I arrived, we had 600 or so providers on staff. We're now over 750.
Wow.
And we're growing at a clip of 16-17% per year, which is impossible to sustain, only because you run out of space and you can only affect so much change. So, but it's been an incredible 5 years, seeing the community rally around the programs of care. These physicians come because they believe they can practice their trade. They believe that the community desires them to be here to practice their trade. And they believe that the health system will invest in the technology, programs, and facilities to support them. And these facilities are attractive, and this technology is attractive. We compete nationally for this top talent. And there's some of the brightest minds in medicine assembling right here in South Georgia.
Yeah. Well, we had Sandra Wilcher on yesterday, and it's one thing I had mentioned to her, and I brought your name up. I said, Ronnie Dean's recruiting young doctors with families, it's great to have a school system like Lowndes County Schools and the things that we do, because it's like you said, the community rallying around. It's a community draw that we have here. Be Valdosta, I've been here 15 years. Jeremy's been here all his life, but I mean, I've never had a community open its arms. I mean, I felt at home the first year I was here, you know, and there's something about Valdosta and Lowndes County in South Georgia that just, we have something here, you know.
Well, we do, and I talk about it all the time. You know, I'm from Alabama, and you know, I've lived a lifetime in Southeast Alabama, and I've traveled through South Georgia, and where Dothan was situated. A lot of my friends were in Southwest Georgia, and all of our, you know, those were bedroom communities of Dothan. It felt like. But when I arrived, I felt that day one. Actually, the conversations by phone initially, and then when you get here and you start experiencing who we are in South Georgia, and the number one, the word that comes to mind is just a lot of kind people here, kind people that know how to win. And they're willing to do what's required to create a winning situation for the community and the residents. So we sell that to these physicians, and you know, a lot of them come and they've never been here before, but many of them have talked to someone who has relocated here, and they hear the same story you just said, what I've repeated time and again, and that's what sells them. We can have beautiful facilities, great technology, but if the community isn't acceptant of them and we're not providing other things like high quality education and other activities they're interested in as a family unit, we won't get them. But we're getting them because we're attractive, y'all. It's not hard to recruit to South Georgia.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because one of the things I was curious about as you take on this huge project, $150 million, you said. I mean, obviously you've got to pay for that. You've got to staff it, obviously. I was a part of the fundraising effort for the Dasher Heart Tower, and a great experience. Got to witness the support, financial support of the community very quickly. People embrace it when the hospital is moving forward, right? And I think you've done a great job of communicating the vision. What's the greatest challenge in executing this vision now that you've been here 5 years?
Well, workforce development is the number one challenge in the healthcare industry, but I'd say that applies to, you know, many, probably again back to the school system, you know, finding qualified teachers, enough of them. So workforce is key, having the right talent level, and then developing that workforce, rallying them around this vision. We want to be the destination for care that can't be provided elsewhere in the region. We want these smaller institutions around us to do the great work they do, but when they need us, we want to have the capabilities so South Georgians don't travel. But you gotta build your team around that, and then you've got to get them centered on why we exist. And I've already said that. We exist to improve the lives of all we serve. And in simpler terms, we have one reason only to be here, is take care of people.
Right.
There's no other reason for SGMC Health to exist.
Yep.
And then, you know, aligning these 3,200 employees, 750 providers around a common set of values. You know, and we talk about that often. So it's leadership development that leads to better workforce development, that leads to execution of the strategy, and that execution starts at the bedside at every touch. It's not getting the building built. It's what we do inside of that building and with that building. The building's a tool.
Right.
It's really what happens at the bedside. Yeah.
It's so interesting. We talk about that in our business, right? I mean, people think that we talk about money all the time, but really money's a tool as well. And it's about relationships. It's about the people that you work with and that you serve, and having the opportunity to change their life, literally, for better or worse. And it's interesting how a rural health system differs from a metropolitan system. And you mentioned the breadth of the territory that SGMC Health serves. Would you speak to that? Because you come from rural Alabama, but I'm sure you've got plenty of experience in the healthcare industry to speak to the differences between rural health versus metropolitan health.
Well, geography is an impediment to access. So that's the most defining when, a rural Georgian has to travel many, many miles and larger distances to receive care that they need. That's the greatest challenge when it comes to establishing a rural healthcare delivery system. One of our priorities, we have four strategic priorities, and no one rises above the other three, is unequaled access to care. And so, I think that's what defines rural medicine. Being able to concentrate programs, specialty programs, and providers with these competencies in a central part of rural Georgia only enables access. And then we're able to reach out into the neighboring counties and create unique access points so as to limit that travel time and increase availability in primary care and specialty care. So I would say it's all in that access, to care. We behave similarly as urban hospitals. We're regulated the same. We have different levels of capabilities, some higher, some not as high. But I would say, the concentration of the population not being in proximity is interesting. Recruiting into urban areas is a little different. They're again, some would say more attractive on the one hand, not so attractive on another.
Right.
And so those are the defining differences. But I think at the end of the day, healthcare is about people, and every one of these institutions, how they're organized, is this for that same reason. You've got to have a love of people.
Yep.
A desire to help someone be better than before they came to see you. And we're all centered on that, I would say.
And one thing I've noticed about you is I know we had coffee at the hospital a couple of times, and just I've noticed how personal you are with people, from the person fixing the coffee to whether it's nurse, doctor, or even a patient or someone sitting in the waiting room. You take time to stop, to talk, ask them how they're doing. You pretty much every person in our office today, you've had a conversation with, how are you doing, or tell me your background and all. Very personal. And I've been impressed by that because, you can upgrade facilities, you can expand, you can do all of those things. But the experience that people experience when they're in, whether it's our office or your hospital, it's the attitudes of the people and the culture that you create. And so you've done a very good job at that. And I'll even say this: I've asked people, like I told 2 or 3 people we're gonna have Ronnie Bean on, and people say, "Oh yeah, he's my good friend." Everybody's your good friend. I've noticed that.
I'm not sure about that.
So anyway, I just that excites me. Someone who's had, both of my kids were born at SGMC Health and had great experiences with both of them, which I did the easy part. I watched, but it was, it's exciting to me. I'm probably more excited about the culture of the facility now than I've ever been. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for the words and the thoughts, and my response to that is I'm like any other human on this earth. I'm evolving, I'm learning, but what I have learned is if you're not in healthcare to for the benefit of another, whether it's the person you're caring for or the teammate that's sitting next to you or working. If you're not in it for that, you don't need to be in it. You need to leave right now.
Yeah.
We talk very openly about willingness and capability. And typically, when you size someone up, whether they fit, it's are they capable to do the job and are they willing to do what's required?
Mm-hmm.
And it's two different things.
Mm-hmm.
And so this idea that everyone matters is about being willing. Willing to what? Pay everyone respect. It doesn't matter where you are. You know, my title, my job is what it is. But at the end of the day, you know, I'm important to somebody else and they're important to me. And we have to first start our day every day believing that. If we believe we're better or they're not as important, we're losing on the outset.
Yeah.
Because it takes 3,200 dedicated people at all levels of that organization to show up with the idea that, hey, I'm here to help somebody. And they got to first feel it from me and my leadership team. And it's got to matriculate down. Are we there yet? No, we're not. Are we better? We are. We've spent a lot of time getting together as a team talking about core values. And, you know, a lot of people write that stuff down. And it's a mission statement, a vision statement, and your values. We're really trying to live them. And it has to start with me. You know, I just happened over my 42-year career, I've embraced the idea that I exist for something bigger than the job. My reason for being here is much bigger than this job. I believe that wholeheartedly. I never thought I'd leave Dothan, Alabama for Troy, Alabama to take a job, nor did I think I would leave Alabama for Georgia. But here I am. And how did all that happen? Well, I think there's something a little bigger and a little more powerful working in my life than just getting a job done. So why not take advantage of that? We've all been ideally positioned. We've been selected, appointed in a lot of ways to deliver on these things. So making people feel good when they're in your presence, it's essential. It's required.
That's beautiful. Great point. We talked about that a little bit in other conversations we had about the divine appointment and how, when we are fulfilling our call, literally vocation is a calling, right? It's not a job. You've clearly been called into this role, and you can't separate your personal life from your vocational life. I think that's a futile attempt. That you are, if you are authentic, then that same man who lives, at home with his family and enjoys his upcoming holiday, is going to be influenced by the person who's at work, and the person at work is going to influence by the person at home. And hopefully there's a lot of similarities there, right? You have different roles to play, jobs to do, but your core values, who you are, shouldn't change based on your surroundings. And leading that way, often defined as servant leadership, maybe an overused term, is rare, unfortunately. And it feels like that you've really embraced that role, at least the way you're articulating that today.
Well, I try. Now I'm fallible. I fail every day at it. And what y'all don't see is me struggling.
Sure.
You have to stay focused and you stay grounded, and there has to be a guiding purpose in your life. And I believe he guides me, and I believe if I'll listen more, I'll be even better at it. So, but I would say it's intent. What is your intent? Are you being intentional about being what it is you've been called to be? And I think if you become intentional, then you'll be better at it.
That's right.
And you'll rehearse it, you'll practice it. I've not always been this intentional. It's evolved over a long period of time. I think it's the journey we're all on to reach our potential. But you have to start by deciding what it is you aim to be, and are you going to invest in it, or are you going to do what's required? For me, what drives me is I know that by being intentional about others, it enables, it's rewarding to me to know that I've had a positive impact on another person's life by, if nothing more than having a conversation. But it's much deeper than that. Every one of these people you witnessed me talking to, I care about them deeply.
And that shows.
That's when it really comes home to roost. If you think about SGMC Health, if it didn't exist for some reason, just it ceased to exist today, what impact would that have on 3,200 families?
Yeah.
Massive, incredible, so far-reaching, generational impact. So, taking care of people and living out our mission as a healthcare delivery system is one thing, but the well-being and the enabling presence of the health system in the lives of all that not only depend on it for care, but depend on it for work to take care of their family. So each one of those individuals are chasing a set of dreams, goals, and aspirations. And what a beautiful thing to be a part of that. That's what SGMC Health is doing. It's enabling folks to reach their dreams, goals, and aspirations, whether it's a newly recruited physician or a barista, at the coffee shop, or a nurse or a pharmacist. I mean, it's an enabling presence in our lives, and we have to protect that.
Well, and it's a gift, and when someone important talks to you, it reminds you that you're important too. We're all important. Everybody's important, like you said. You said that very well. So tell us a little bit about the what's going on with Mercer and the everything you guys are doing there.
Well, we're a lot of things. We're a four-hospital health system. We have 4 hospital campuses. We have a network of other services, including long-term care, personal care residents. We do a lot of things. But the one thing we've become over the last 5 years is we're now a teaching health system, a teaching institution. And that started with a Mercer University School of Medicine affiliation. The idea that we wanted to teach came from, this need to create a larger pipeline of physicians for rural Georgia. And although the institutions that have long been in existence and the residency training programs have done a fine job, there's just not enough of them.
Right.
And we need more. So the Mercer University School of Medicine affiliation was born out of the idea that we're going to team up with a preeminent School of Medicine in developing our residency training programs. And from that has led us to become Mercer University School of Medicine's newest accredited campus. So SGMC Health is a 2-year accredited campus of Mercer University School of Medicine also. And what that means is just this past year, we began to accept our class of medical students. So you all know how it works. First, there's 4-year medical school. First 2 years are academics. And the second 2 years, third and fourth year, is clinical. And so the third-year students go to a location, a clinical site, and they start learning to put these things they've learned into practice. And then they do it the fourth year. And then they finish, and they become eligible to be a licensed physician. So we're taking third and fourth year students. That's the 2-year accredited campus. Here, they move here, they live here, and they remain here. And they're trained by our faculty and staff. Mercer has a faculty, and then we have those that have become members of the faculty to train Mercer University School of Medicine medical students. And we're doing that while we're over here inviting doctors to choose us for their advanced training as residents. So what's a resident? A resident is it's a physician that's finished medical school, and now they've chosen a specialty that they want to be trained in. Our first residency training program, also known as a graduate medical education program, is internal medicine. And we started that 3 years ago. And it's a 3-year residency. So these doctors, a class of 8 or so each year, come and they stay with us for 3 years to learn how to be an internist. And they're trained by our medical staff. So what's going on inside of the Mercer University School of Medicine SGMC Health affiliation is just that. We have Mercer University School of Medicine affiliated residency training programs, of which we have one. We're now interviewing for the second residency, which is a transitional care residency that'll start next year. 10 more physicians will join us, in addition to these 3 classes of internists. And then in 26, we'll start a family medicine residency training program, and then we have goals. And then we're taking 15 to 20 medical students, third year. Next year, we'll take another class of third year. Each initial third year become fourth year, and we'll continue to grow those classes. So we are a teaching institution in affiliation, Mercer University School of Medicine, and couldn't be more proud of our affiliation with Mercer University School of Medicine. Dean Sumner and I speak often. She just came down this week, and we had a nice chat. And the future for this relationship is extremely bright.
That's exciting. I'm particularly proud of that, being a Mercer alumnus myself, and my wife. Go Bears is right. And a lot of people might not know this, but the Mercer School of Medicine has a mission for rural health. It's one of the commitments that these students make when they attend Mercer University School of Medicine, is to practice in rural Georgia specifically. And I just love how that marries up with the mission of SGMC Health, that there is a unified mission there from your DNA that is coming together for something for a more powerful outcome.
It really has turned into a great relationship. Not only do they have a mission, a focus on rural health, but they only accept Georgians into their program, which is interesting.
Yeah.
It's Georgians being trained to go back to parts of Georgia to practice medicine.
That's right.
And Dr. Sumner is fiercely focused on that for the state of Georgia.
Well, being from Wrightsville, Georgia, it's in her DNA too.
It is,
Right.
and she loves it, and she'll tell you all about it too.
Yeah, yeah.
What a great champion for rural health care we have in Dr. Jean Sumner.
That's great. That's exciting for our community and for your hospital and our hospital alike.
Ronnie, you came at an interesting time to Valdosta, Georgia, 2019, and right as soon how long were you here before COVID hit?
Not long enough.
Not exactly the red carpet.
Yeah, well, so we arrived in October 21st, 2019. That was day one on the job.
Wow.
And I guess it was March when we experienced our first COVID case. I know later that year, December into January, we're beginning to discover there's a virus, and there's concerns about a pandemic. And those concerns were soon realized. And not far from here in Dougherty County, that was one of the hot spots of COVID, and we, we're fairly close to that health system, and we listened and watched and started gathering up our plans. And so March, we had our first patient, and our team was amazing. They fearlessly rallied around this challenge that we were going to do what's required for our community, our region, and wound up doing that well and beyond. But yeah, it was, no one expected it. And my response typically that it doesn't matter where I, landed, whether it was Valdosta or if I was in Troy or somewhere, it was coming.
Right.
And the question really was, what are you going to do? How are you going to respond to it? How will you be known, during, as a result of what you do? And that's sort of what I'm proud of. This team of physicians and volunteers and our board and our employees, boy, did they rally. It was an incredible show of leadership at every level to get through that. And the community rallied. Community rallied around our healthcare system and helped each other. And a lot of planning, multi-agency, cross-governmentals from state, county, city. It's just an incredible, when I look back, what we had to learn through and then deliver safely to get through that. It was an incredible 2 years or more, actually.
like most things in life and business, when you go through a tough time, you come out stronger and better. Yeah, hopefully, because if the question is, what are you going to do about it, right? You can fold, or you can rise to the occasion. And we've interviewed countless people of examples of how we've collectively risen, right? How is SGMC Health better today than it was prior to 2020?
Well, I think number one, and you two and your listening, viewing audience probably can relate to this comment, but prior to my arrival, SGMC Health, it went through a difficult time.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, it was, it's not a flattering time that anyone likes to remember, but we remember it because it's a place we never want to go back to, and there were a lot of lessons learned. And what the crisis did around COVID was, I think it enabled me to help us galvanize around a common objective. We had to defeat this thing. We had to lead our community through it. And what we learned really quickly was, we are willing and we're capable as a healthcare team to step up to this. And maybe we didn't know how willing or capable we were until we got in the fight, and then it started showing up. We did, I'm sure there are a lot of things we could have done better, but this team did a lot of things right, and it emboldened them around the idea, hey, we're pretty good at this. Such that we opened more beds. The governor said, hey, I need more beds. We called and said, hey, we've got Smith Northview Hospital, we'll open it. He passed the order, the department approved us, and we staffed those beds. We expanded beyond our capability by adding resources, bringing in more agency staff to support us. Very difficult to do. And at the end, wound up taking care of Georgians from 49 other counties in Georgia because they couldn't access their local health system because they were overwhelmed or didn't have enough bed. So we started bringing people from the rest of Georgia. We took them from Florida and several cities in Alabama as far away as Mobile. They came here for care.
Wow.
So if I could say it did one thing, it probably got our attention about how capable and good we really are. And then from that, we just used that opportunity to build on our success. And I think it's really perpetuated us through. We're still learning and growing as a team, but right now I could not be more pleased with how our nurses, physicians, clinical staff, management, support staff, and I'd just say the organization as a whole works together. And COVID, as terrible as it was, it may have been a good thing for us. From sort of getting our game face on and stepping into a fight and winning that fight by and large. So it was that effect, I think.
COVID accelerated a lot of growth in a lot of different industries and areas. And Ronnie, tell us, let's take a step or two back. Tell us about Ronnie Dean. Tell us about the journey from growing up in Dothan, Alabama, to landing in Troy, Alabama. Everything before SGMC Health. I know that's a long span, but you start where you want to start.
That's broad. Well, let's start here. I'm going to confess, I did not grow up in Dothan.
Okay.
And I'm from the Dothan area, and if I told you where I was from, you just wouldn't know. So when people ask me, I'd say, look, I'm from the Dothan area. So,
Yeah.
Truth of the matter is, I grew up just south of Currytown,
Okay.
which is right outside of Pinkerton in Midland City, Alabama.
Wow.
Houston County borders another county called Dale County, and Dothan's about 7 miles away. And I grew up just inside of Dale County. So, I'm a native of Dale County, Alabama. Attended Dale County High School, public school system, and my family still lives in the Dothan area. But I went attended. Let's just start there. So high school comes along. I'm in high school. No one in my family, has finished college. No one's attended college. My dad, he had an 8th grade education. His dad took him out of classes in the 8th grade to work the fields. Farmer. And Dad had 3 boys. I was the youngest of 3, and then I have a younger sister, 10 years younger. And Dad's orientation to college just was, why do you need to go to college? He wanted for his kids what he didn't accomplish. He wanted them to finish high school.
Mm.
So finishing high school was about what? Going to work. And he worked, and the man knew how to work, and he knew how to make a living for his family. And so that senior year, when there was a guidance counselor that says, let's go to the local, Wallace Community College, just like Wiregrass Technical here. I'd jump on the bus and I'd come back enthusiastic about, hey, I might be able to, learn a trade out here, work in the healthcare field, because all the applied sciences were coming along. And a counselor introduced me to this program called respiratory therapy. I really enjoyed biology in high school. Had a great biology teacher, Miss Dees, and so I went out there thinking, well, maybe lab technology, but left being excited about respiratory therapy. Went back and told Dad, hey, Dad, I think I want to go to college. And he ignored me. And I said, Mom, I really think I want to do this. Talk to your dad. And he ignored me. And then I went back and I said, Dad, I really want to do this. And he stopped dead in his tracks and he looked at me and he pointed his finger out to a field. He had assembled a whole bunch of vehicles and equipment. He had formed Dean Motors, and he was selling cars. And it was the beginning of a great business that he built in Dothan, in that Dothan area. And he looked out and he pointed out there. He said, son, why do you want to go to college? I have plenty of work for you right out there. Mm. So his attitude was, you finish high school and go to work. That's right. So he, being a really great dad and having great parents, they supported me. Went through Wallace College, finished in 83, started working at the local hospital in 82, part-time as an equipment technician. Found my way into, all kind of unique situations there, learned a lot. But my first full-time job, interestingly enough, wasn't in Alabama, it was in Georgia. Wow. I finished the program in 83 and hung around waiting on a full-time job to open up at the local hospital. And then someone called and said, hey, Ronnie, we need you to come to Donaldsonville, Georgia and help us over here. Would you do that? And it was 35 minutes away. Mm-hmm. So I drove back and forth to Donaldsonville Hospital and did that for about 6 months. And then the call came, hey, we have a job for you as a respiratory therapist on night shift here at the local hospital. Would you come back? And I said, I sure would. I started driving. And I loved all the people in Donaldsonville and all the physicians, the Breckenridges, Dr. Starling, and just a whole bunch of great folks. And I learned a lot. They came back on night shift, and there we go. Remained there for 32 consecutive years and did a lot of work. I get asked a lot, what'd you do to become a CEO? Well, the answer is I never really searched for ways to become CEO. As a matter of fact, the people that were around me thought more of me than I did myself because they kept putting me in a position to do the things that they saw that I could do, and I was really good at some things. And then in 2016, a longtime CEO that I had worked with for 20 years, he retired. His wife developed a memory disorder, and Ron was just outstanding for our organization. I learned so much from him. You learn a lot. You learn the wrong way to do things, you learn the right ways, and you learn from others that you trust. And Ron was a plethora of just ideas and ideology and leadership philosophy that we all learned from. And when he retired, the board had to decide who would replace him. and I was one of 3 internal candidates, and the board decided that they would choose an external candidate, and that was okay. And I had planned to work for this gentleman because my goal was to finish there. I never thought I'd leave Dothan. And then a call came in from Troy, Alabama, struggling hospital, small rural hospital, although in a university town. I think the city of Troy, maybe the county city, 20,000 people, and but sits between Montgomery and Dothan. And we've watched this hospital struggle for a long time. And so this was another one of these they called, and I said, I know, I think I know what you need. I developed the relationship with them. Part of my responsibility was hospital operations. Part of it was a little regulatory partnerships, affiliation. I did a lot of things for the health system, and I knew them, and we had an affiliation with them. And I said, "Would you come run our hospital?" And I just, no. They called again. Ronnie, please come talk to us. And, no. I think I need to be here. And then the third time they called, Sue and I, my wife Sue, we'll be married 38 years, December 12th.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And she says, Ronnie, maybe this is maybe this is a little bit of a calling. Maybe you should go talk to him. And her encouragement led me to make the trip up one early morning. Had a discussion with some folks I knew, the board, some I didn't, and they wanted me to come. And we went back, prayed about it, thought about it, and sure enough, I tell them I'm leaving and going to Troy, Alabama. and no one could believe it. You're going to Troy, Alabama. I'm going to Troy. And I think, when I talk about Valdosta, my pathway to Valdosta was through Troy. Because had I not went to Troy, I wouldn't be in Valdosta. And it's really interesting how those things work. When doors are opened, if you choose not to step through, what is the consequence when you step through that door when it's kicked open, and take a chance and believe that it's through the calling? So that happened. So I was there from 2016 to 2019, and a similar call occurred, and it was a friend of a friend of a friend. And somewhere in the middle of all this, I was introduced to Bill Forbes. And Bill Forbes was a longtime executive at SGMC Health. And I think he and I talked, and I was in the mix. The board was doing a national search, trying to find the next CEO of South Georgia Medical Center, and I made the trip over and just had a wonderful conversation with our board of directors. This feeling we talked about earlier in the podcast, they made me feel so wanted and welcomed. And then eventually, they asked me would I come, and I told them I would. The most difficult part of that decision was not coming; it was leaving Troy, because we had gotten so much done. The hospital had been bought and sold over a number of times and was not in good shape, and it's one of the most rewarding things I've done in my career is to go up and help them realize that they could win in a very competitive environment. And we left with them being in a really great position, and they're doing extremely well today. So leaving them was difficult, but coming here was exceptionally rewarding. And it's these past 5 years, I couldn't have asked for more support and better opportunity for me and my family, and to help me do this thing I do well.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And then as we kind of finish this last part here, we always like to step into a little bit of two things that you've referenced consistently today, and that's your faith and your family. Let's start with your family, because you're just a couple of days away from 38 years, you said?
38 years.
Tell us about how you and your wife met, what that journey has been like, and the rest of your family.
Well, Sue and I met at the hospital we were working at in Dothan. I was working over one night, and she was a nurse, and she was hanging around in the dictation area, and that was where we encountered one another. And maybe maybe there was an earlier encounter. She doesn't remember it. I do. And
It's usually the way that works.
right?
What an impression.
Yeah, that's right. And then, I get to tell this story in a number of ways, and I could talk about her taking me, out, but the truth of the matter is, she was really sweet and cute, and conversation was fun, and we connected, and I think against a lot of odds, we connected. And so that was a long time ago, and she's put up with me, and this journey I talk about. I am who I am, but I'm not easy, and fortunately, she and I connect at a very deep emotional level, deep spiritual level, and fortunately, she's built the way she is, and I'm just couldn't be more proud that she contended with me. But she had many reasons not to. We give our wives reasons not to. Yeah, I think we can all relate.
Oh, yeah.
And
More than I'd like to admit.
and again, imperfection exists.
Yes.
It's just there's no perfect marriage, but fortunately, I've got one of the best persons by my side. That I can't imagine anyone any better. 38 years, 2 children, 2 girls. My oldest is 36, Megan, and she lives in Franklin, Tennessee. She works with a bank in Franklin, but she has a unique gift. She's very creative, and she gets that from her mother, and the family members she's been around. She's a seamstress, and she's developed her own little fashion design, and I tease her. She's sort of like a starving artist when you're trying to sell women's clothing lines. I mean, how do you do that? It's in the eyes of the beholder, right? So, but she loves that, and she still has those dreams and goals. She's not married, has not been married, no children, and 36, career-minded and focused on both her banking role and this. So very proud of her. And we'll visit with her over the holidays. And then Lauren, our 34-year-old, she lives in Germany. She's married, lives right outside of Stuttgart in Heimsheim, and she married Niels Marr, and Niels is German, and they met in Birmingham, Alabama, of all places.
Wow.
She was living in Birmingham. She had worked in hospitality and logistics, and they connected. And Niels was located in Birmingham. He had he works for Mercedes-Benz, and they have a huge plant in Vance, Alabama, between Birmingham and Tuscaloosa. They connected, and one thing led to another, and they married. I think close to 2.5 years ago. And they live in Germany. He was relocated back to corporate there at Stuttgart, just where they live. But I think they're moving back in April of this year, so we're real happy about that. Again, no children yet, so I have no grandchildren, which we're praying and thinking about. And I think at least one of them is thinking about it,
Right.
Lauren.
Yeah.
And so we'll see how that turns out. But I'm very proud of our girls. They're a lot like their mom. They're fiercely loyal to who they're around. They're dedicated to the Lord, and they're committed their lives to doing these beautiful things they do for the benefit of others. And couldn't be more proud of Sue, Megan, and Lauren in my life.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Lastly, your faith journey. It is clear that it influences you as a man, a leader, and a husband and a father. To the extent that you're willing, share that with us.
I'm going to say it's evolving. I've not found a person of faith yet that has evolved.
Right.
And I'll start with my dad. I told you about his small business that turned into a fairly large, reputable auction business over the years. But first and foremost, he was a man of faith. He and my mom, they married in 1955, and within a year, he was born again and then led to preach, and he was a minister. And for 60 years, maybe it was 64 years, he was a ministry. He led small rural Alabama churches, but he also was an evangelist. So we spent a lot of time putting up a 3-pole tent in rural Alabama and Southwest Georgia and North Florida, leading revivals. So, naturally, as a preacher's kid, you're oriented, and you have to listen. You're there. You're gonna listen. But what's interesting, he was a assembly guy, Pentecostal, and I so many memories. You and I were talking about singing and playing. Well, you can imagine he had all his kids with an instrument.
We grew up the very same way.
And so, that was the beginnings. And then Sue and I married. It was interesting. I was a Pentecostal, married in a Baptist church, and now attend Methodist. So, and when I say evolving, I think what's important to me in my faith journey is not the label on the door. It's really that, are you living your life according to Christ, and is it playing out in, how you make others feel and what you do every day. And so that's where we are. We're members of Park Avenue Church, and Jimmy and Debbie Townsend, just beautiful people, a beautiful church, and leading a lot of folks to the Lord, and that's sort of where I'm at. Again, a lot of imperfections in this faith journey, but I deeply believe that I'm an instrument of His, and if I'll listen and I'll live according to His word, I'll be a much better person for those around me. And that's where I am today.
We thank you. This has been great. Love getting to know more about you and things going on with SGMC Health. And thanks again for your service. Thanks for everything you do for our community. And like you said, one thing you said that stood out, and we'll end with this: we know how to win here. And I think we did that when we got you. So,
well, that's very kind of you to say, but I'd say that, I'm a part of the winning equation.
there you go.
This community, this region, it's Wintersville for a reason. People not only know what needs to be done, but they're willing to do what's required, including y'all. And what you're doing with this podcast is amazing. I feel privileged to be invited, and I thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit.
Yeah, well, we look forward to having you again.
It was fun.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.